Dartmoor is an almost unique environment. It was created by man during the Iron Age, and originally it was covered with oak forests, just dripping with mosses and lichens. But the need for fuel to smelt and work this wonderful new material led us to chop down almost all of the forests. Of course, once you've got iron to make axe heads with, everything gets easier and you just keep chopping trees down faster and faster. So, 2,500 years later, and you turn it into a national park. The blacksmith had arrived. Meet Dean Adgett.
Blacksmithing is something I feel that I have to do. It feels so right to do it. I've got a passion for it that I don't think I would be happy doing anything else now. So I'll certainly stick with it as long as I can survive whilst doing it. I think there is a big future for it. It's certainly come through a big revival. People are now fed up with sort of buying things that don't work and don't really do what they want them to do. So the only real solution is to have something specially made, particularly for the job, and then it's guaranteed to do that particular job. One of the things about blacksmithing is that it is a pretty permanent craft. They invented the tools way back at the beginning of the Iron Age, and we still use exactly the same type of tools now. They're made in the same way, out of the same materials, and used in the same manner. That side of blacksmithing is probably not going to change a great deal. Everything I've got in the workshop has had at least one previous life. Most of my machinery dates from the sort of 1800s up to the new modern stuff from 1948. And when it goes wrong, we just make a new part. We won't throw it away just because it's old. We'll make it work. It was designed to do a job, and it does the job well. The power hammers we have there, we have one that's called Andrew, and it's named Andrew after a smith that worked in the forge, who used to come in and swing the sledgehammer, and it was called a striker. And when he got too old to swing the sledge anymore, they bought this second-hand hammer. It was designed and built in 1935, and it's still working today. Andrew's long since gone. Basically, we're off to Cold Harbour Mill, go and see the lads there, who I've known for some time. They're all volunteers and look after the steam engines since the mill's shut and stopped producing anything in 1982. But it's the original steam engines still powering that were installed in 1910. They're doing a good job to keep them going. And they call upon me when they need a bit of extra help. Making bits and pieces that you can't buy at B&Q. So anything that's not off the shelf, they call me in to make up for them. And if you ever survive this lane, you'll be very lucky. We'll be all right when we get on the road out there.
Hello, Dean. All right?
Yeah, not too bad.
How's it going?
It's good. And you?
Good. Yeah, fine, thanks.
So you got your volunteers in?
Yeah, a couple of lads. There's Ryan.
All right, Ryan.
And young Adam there.
Right, Adam.
All right. Bit of a problem. Perhaps you can solve it for us. We need a valve lifter for this engine. We haven't got one.
Right.
Well, we've got this.
Right.
Doesn't look very authentic.
No.
Doesn't look very professional, you know? So we need something a little bit strong to lift this valve and that valve there so it can warm the engine up.
Right.
Okay, there's a spring in there and a heavy valve on the end, so it wants to be nice and tough. Right, we need to lift the valve. So we'll put a little chock of wood there. Lift the valve like so. and prop it up so that steam can get into the cylinder and warm it up. Okay, there's about that.
Right. So ideally you want something that just slots in around there.
That's it.
And lifts there.
Just lift it against the spring. There's a spring in there and a heavy valve at the bottom, so it's got to be fairly strong.
Okay. Yeah,
okay.
About 1910 style.
That's right. Are you metric or English?
All English here.
All English, right. We'll have an English meter.
So you want about that long?
Yep, that'll do.
If we call that 30 inches?
Yep, near enough.
Okay.
That's fine. Right.
So when do you need it?
Well, we steam up in the new year. We steam up every new year, so we'll need it fairly soon.
Right.
All right.
Okay, we'll go straight on to it then.
Yeah, that'll be good. Do you fancy a cup of tea?
Sounds like a good idea.
About due for one, I think.
Yes, I think so. You're not wrong. Yeah. Yes, that's right. Don't call. Please, yeah. Don't call this Cold Harbour for nothing.
Tea is a critical component in modern fag packet design technology.
What is this going to look like, really?
I've no idea yet.
Oh, fair enough.
It's actually warmer than it was last week.
I think.
You only need to look at the shape of cars made in the 1970s to begin to suspect that CAD software of the day was unable to let you draw a compound curve, unlike a pencil and paper. The design having been finalised, it's back to work.
Cheers for now.
Dean works mostly on his own these days. Well, except for his cat called Tink.
Rightio.
And of course, the tools of his trade. Tink knows a good thing when she sees it, and being a cold morning, there's only one place you can be. Sitting by the fire. Well, actually, on it. Heating wrought iron to a cherry red makes it malleable. It actually makes it plastic. And just like plasticine, that gives you the ability to bend it, to stretch it, to flatten it, to squeeze it into almost any shape that's desired. With a little help from Andrew, it's possible to draw out the ends of the piece of wrought iron. It's easy to get bogged down with technical terms, but this is called a flatter. It just makes things flatter, but in a controlled kind of way. Wrought iron has a grain which is rather like wood. If you cut across the grain, then you can lose the strength of the material. But if you bend it, the grain goes round the corner with it, and the strength is maintained. And although it takes time, and a great deal of skill, it's the reason why forging produces much stronger pieces of work.
The anvil I've got in the workshop is made out of small amounts of wrought iron that have been fire welded together using sledgehammers, and this process has been going on ever since the beginning of the Iron Age. Iron's a very expensive commodity when it was first developed, so anytime you wanted to make something out of iron, you probably recycled the iron that you first had, and the anvil is an accumulation of maybe several generations worth of bits of wrought iron which have been progressively put together and made a bigger anvil every so many years when they had a bigger collection of iron. It could be anything up to 500 years old, that design, but the iron that it's actually made out of could be right from the beginning of the Iron Age.
Today's world of mass manufacture demands components of the same size and shape, and I mean exactly the same. So we resort to CNC or computer-controlled machines to make things for us. The advantage of this is that parts become interchangeable. By the start of the Industrial Revolution, the blacksmiths had helped make the machines that were about to put them largely out of work. Before the invention of the blast furnace, iron was smelted in small forges which used charcoal as fuel. The growing scarcity of wood for making charcoal for a time checked the growth of the iron industry. Until 1784, wrought iron couldn't be made by using coal or coke as fuel because it contained sulphur, and the sulphur made the iron brittle. But then Henry Cort discovered that it was possible to use coal and coke as long as it didn't come in contact with the fuel. So suddenly the mass manufacture of iron was possible. The Inuit Eskimos have dozens of words to describe snow. Powdery snow, soft snow, hard snow, snow with flakes the size of dinner plates. It's all still snow, but the properties are different. Likewise, we have cast iron, steel and wrought iron, and fundamentally it's all made of the same stuff, iron. It's just the carbon content that varies. Cast iron has quite a high carbon content. Steel is kind of in the middle, and wrought iron has a very low carbon content. Cast iron is very hard and is quite brittle when it cools down. Wrought iron, with a very low carbon content, stays malleable and it's more likely to bend than break. And steel can be left soft or made hard by tempering it. This involves heating it up to cherry red and then plunging it into oil or water. Steam Up Day has arrived, and Cold Harbour Mill bursts into life once more. The mill was originally built by Thomas Fox in 1799, and it was an important centre for employment and played an integral part in establishing Fox Brothers and Company.
We're steaming the engine up today, and Dean should be turning up with his special valve lifting tool, and I'm looking forward to seeing how it works. Known Dean for quite a while. He's got a little forge down at Meadow Forge down at Bickleigh. Oh, here he is. Hi there. All right, just expecting you.
Got a present for you.
Oh, look at that. Oh, well, that should do some damage, shouldn't it, eh? Let's see if it works.
Righty up.
This looks as if it'll do the job. Let's give it a whirl. Oh, look at that. That's brilliant. Yeah, that's brilliant tool. Excellent. Thanks very much.
You're welcome.
Lovely job.
One of the things I really enjoy is making work that people really appreciate. It's just a wonderful thing to make a beautiful object and then see the customer thoroughly enjoy it as well. As a blacksmith, we make tools for all sorts of different craftsmen, from oak framers to thatchers. We've had all sorts of willow workers who we've made special tools for. We've made special tools for people like rail track. Anyone who needs something that you can't buy off the shelf.
It's rather startling to realise that the mill only closed in 1981, and that it was capable of competing using such ancient equipment as renowned global exporters of high-quality worsted yarn and cloth.
Yeah, but basically in my lifetime I've started off with joining the circus as a clown, and only stayed there for a short period of time, but it was an interesting thing to do. When I did start getting into working with iron, I started just doing the ordinary fabrication work, and then got asked to do some more interesting work, which I wanted to know how to do the job properly. When I started doing the forge work, I didn't know there was any history in the family of doing it until my mother came over to the forge one day and recognised all the tools and things hanging around and told me about the history of it in the family. She only knew about a couple of generations of it, but I've since done a lot of research on it and found that it goes all the way back to 1550. So it was almost inevitable that I was going to take it up.